I'm discussing the expulsion of the Governor of New South Wales in 1996 by Bob Carr. Bob Carr gave a number of reasons, one of which was to bring the Governor, the office, closer to the people, but secondly to reduce the amount of tedious protocol so that the Governor could be part-time. Do you remember that?
Oh, it was outrageous. He had Gordon Samuels, who used to lead the floor of barristers I was on, and knew him very well, wonderful man, and his lovely wife. And they were never off at Government House, and he was just running the Law Reform Commission of New South Wales, and Carr said, we don't need a full-time governor anymore, and he could do it part-time, anybody could really, and he could do something useful meanwhile. He was insulting and demeaning as he could be, and of course anyone who knows any law would know you can't report to yourself. The Law Reform Commission can't report to the Governor because if he's the same person, it's ridiculous. So that was all nonsense. Then he said Government House wouldn't be needed because it was a part-time governor, and Samuels would be paid $30,000 to live in his own house. Well, that privatised it, so no one ever got in there except their friends, whereas at Government House all the people could come when they were invited. And then Carr suggested that it was no need to have a residence for a governor because the people of the country didn't need to see a governor, they didn't want to see a governor, and it was all done. It would save money, which was proved completely false. What else did he say? One for Jack Lang. That was the one that got up my nose. It was nothing to do with the office. It was all about political carryings on in the Labor Party.
The one about cost was an interesting one, wasn't it? There was an Auditor General's report about the first year of that, and it showed that it was more expensive.
Oh, it was more expensive. I think about $250,000
yes.
Because they had to be round the clock security here, and of course the Governor had to have round the clock security. And of course he got the wrong man with Samuels. Samuels had sympathies that Carr might have been sympathetic with himself, but he was a very fine governor and did his job extraordinarily well, and he became very popular. And far from killing off the job, it became more and more important. And Australians knew that when he said get rid of that's one for Jack that's one for Jack Lang. What he meant was that Sir Philip Game, the Governor, had prevented Lang continuing when he was threatening to act illegally. And Aussies play enough sport to know that you don't nobble the referee, and it made Carr look very dubious, and it made the entire Labor Party across Australia look dubious because they were building up to a federal campaign. We'll come to that no doubt in due course. But
I remember a few years later when Paul Keating was interviewed by Virginia Trioli on the ABC, and he was
thrilled for her.
Yes, he was talking about the reasons why he lost, and a principal reason, he said, was the sheer unpopularity of kicking out the Governor. He referred to it as kicking out the Governor.
Yes.
He said that's why I lost.
Yes.
And then he listed other faults of other Labor premiers, but he particularly zeroed in on this.
Now I can't tell you who it was, but we had a report back at ACM, and we were running the campaign, as you know, that there was a wonderful phone conversation between Mr. Carr on one end and Mr. Keating on the other. Mr. Keating, who we know has two languages, was using his Anglo-Saxon, I understand, to full effect, and it was a very, very steamy matter indeed. And later, I think, an analysis I showed that analysts thought that perhaps 2 to 3% had been lost off the Labor vote.
This one's for Jack Lang. That was something that Carr revived and expanded on after he stood down as Premier. He was launching a book, Gough Whitlam's book. It was the second launch of the book on the dismissal.
Birds of a feather flock together,
yes.
Do they?
And at that time, he then admitted that this was the reason why, it was in the Sydney Morning Herald, this is the reason why he expelled the governors. It was about the reserved powers, that the governors took themselves seriously. They lived like plumed birds in a golden cage, and he was going to put a stop to that. And that's why he said he removed the governors, and in that speech he said that Gough Whitlam had destroyed the reserved powers and they no longer existed.
Well, it goes to show, and Bob's such a good historian, and Bob's such a good, well-learned man, and I'm surprised he said that, but part of the campaign, I remember he wanted to get rid of King's birthday or Queen's birthday holiday. I said, why would you give up the only holiday Australians have had every year since 1788? Not only that, it was not only the best party given in Australia, it went on for 3 days, and the entire colony was totally drunk. It was fantastic. Why would you give that up? He didn't think that was funny. No sense of humour.
Well, thank you, Lloyd. That's a wonderful recollection, and thank you.
I wasn't at that party. I wish I had been.
Good.